Welcome to Uncontained, episode 128. I'm your host, Aaron Static Render, and this week I have the return of Kabir Signh. He's a voiceover actor, philosopher, and poet, and now you can add to the list, podcaster. In this episode, we cover a range of things, and some date back to the first episode that I had with Kabir, episode 83. We actually talked about him wanting to start up a podcast, and now he's gone through and done it. It's called Kabir's Voice. And also, we talk about a poem that he's working on, and it's on the verge of release. It's a video poem called My Race is Human, which I'm looking forward to seeing the finished project when that comes out. So we'll get into talking about that, along with also the importance of starting out as an amateur and accepting that role to work towards becoming a master at something. So that is all coming up this week with the return of Kabir Signh right here on Uncontained.
How are you doing today, Kabir?
Oh, man, I'm doing really well, brother. Thank you for having me on.
No, thank you for coming back, man. It's been a little while, and I know you have a few new things going on, and we will definitely get to that. But first of all, how have you been since we last talked?
Life is treating me well, man. I'm learning many lessons in the personal life and also in the business life, and I'm absorbing it all. And I feel like now is probably the best time in life or history of mankind to just really absorb everything from life's lessons to business lessons to whatever lessons you want, because they come rapidly.
That they do, definitely in this day and age with like the digital media, the Facebook and everything comes quicker, but you also are hearing about way more issues as well. Like if this was back even 20 years ago, you wouldn't know half of the crap that's going on around the nation right now, you know?
Yeah, and man, I trip out on that because communication, I feel like communication, the speed has just gotten to a level where my mind can't absorb it all because it's too fast. So I must disconnect once in a while so I can just absorb it all because it's too fast, man.
What do you do to disconnect?
I just a little bit, I feel like working on discipline is a lifelong journey, and I suck at a lot of it. But for the little times that I work on it, it may be, let me just leave my phone in the house today. I'm not gonna take it out for a few hours. I don't want to participate.
Okay.
Just don't want to participate, man. I don't want to participate. Leave me alone. That's just a little action like that sometimes.
That's interesting because, nowadays especially, sounds like, leaving your phone at home wouldn't be a big deal, but it almost feels like leaving your phone at home is the new naked. You almost feel more naked without your phone than if you went out without clothes.
That's a great point, man, because I bet you there's some people that they wouldn't even notice if they were naked if they just had their phone.
Exactly, walking down the street, just bits and pieces flopping everywhere.
And it's subtle, man. It's subtle. And it's cool, man. There's no judgment on it because I use my phone all day. But that's what I'm talking about. That's the problem. I use my phone all day. So I got to put a little break on it.
Yeah, definitely. And actually focus on that person-to-person interaction, too. I think that's needed nowadays.
Yeah. Or the silence of your own mind. I find the more I'm observing life, the more entertaining my thoughts become. It's like a whole, like I like the internet, but it's like a whole internal internet going on. It's like you get to explore all kinds of things about people, about yourself, your ego, your whatever it is, whatever you're dealing with. I feel like I'm dealing with shit all the time, whether it's fucking lust or whether it's business problems, whatever it is, I'm dealing with it. So it's trippy, bro.
Definitely. You were saying explore other people as well. So do you find yourself people watching a lot or?
It's like observing. So like I can give you an example. I'll go hiking and I'll be in my own mind. I'll be listening to something vibing, but I'll take moments where I stop in the middle of something where there's people and I'll notice the good Mexican dad who's a cholo and is taking his kid out in the sun. And I'll notice that because I haven't seen it before. And I'll go up to him and I'll tell him, hey, man, your son's going to appreciate that, bro. That's very nice you did that. Because I like to see that. Why?
Yeah.
Because that's beautiful, bro. And in certain neighborhoods, wherever you're hiking, wherever you are, if you see some abnormalities, you got to point them out. And you got to give respect where you see love, man, because people need to hear it. That dude, when I told him that, he came back and he shook my hand. He said, thank you for saying that. And I was like, whoa, man, like it hit him that much. And I was just a random guy. So people watching sometimes just brings, I call it like spreading love, you know?
Yeah, definitely, dude. Definitely. I can see where that's coming from. And now, like, it seems like a lot of people aren't willing to step out and point out when they see something special happening, too. They're like, oh, yeah, I don't want to either. It takes them out of their comfort zone, or they're like, oh, I don't want to make them uncomfortable for pointing it out. And they might be like, of course I love my damn kid, you know?
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing special about this. This is what I do.
Yeah. And it's so, especially now, it's so tender, man, because people may get offended. But, you know, man, I've become so in tune with my spirit where if my spirit tells me to go do it, I got to do this, whatever it is, because I'm guided by the spirit. If the spirit hopefully doesn't lead me down to a negative, reaction from, and if it does, man, I just hope that I can quickly make it a lovable situation. Intent is pure.
Definitely. And I think intent has a lot to do with things as well. And
matters, man. It
Yes.
matters. Intent is everything.
Yes, definitely. Obviously, just talking to you, people can already tell that you're a deep person. All right. You internalize a lot of thoughts, a lot of feelings, and now people can actually get those feelings. One, they've been able to find them on Facebook for a while. You've had these videos out where you're talking about whatever comes to your mind or whatever speaks to you at the moment. But now you actually have a podcast out too, Kabir's Voice. How did you make that transition into being like, okay, I'm going to release this podcast?
Man, I've been an avid listener of podcasts, especially like Joe Rogan. That's my number one that I've always listened to. And my voice, I use it every day, whether it's for voiceover, whether it's for poetry, whether it's for philosophy videos on Facebook. And then on the other level, getting on your podcast and seeing how you went and you learned from whatever Podcasters Paradise, whatever you learned from, everything you learned from, created it, successfully did it. Now you're doing it. Now you got guests. It's beautiful to see. So just like one lesson I learned from Joe Rogan's is that he always says people have a famine mentality, that everyone got a famine mentality, that if I get it, you can't get it. That's not how it is, man. So podcasts are the same thing. If you can get it, I can get it. If I can get it, then the person next to me can get it. Meaning, it's just a way to express your voice. Now, if you want to make it a business, make it a business. For me, I'm in the amateur stages. And again, it's called At Kabir's Voice because it's Kabir's voice. So it's a podcast that I'm just starting. And I don't have the ability to have some of these guests on, whether it's Joe Rogan or whether it's a philosopher that I really enjoy, like Jiddu, who died a long time ago. So I sometimes I find myself reflecting on something they say, and I'll vibe to it. And then in the raw moment, I'll go ahead and record the podcast, and then I'll use that clip of 30 seconds or minute of this random thing Joe Rogan said, or this random thing Jiddu Krishnamurti said in 1924 in a lecture. And because it was somehow hit me, I'll tag it to the end of the podcast so people can listen to it, to refer to the energy that I referred to. So yeah, man, the podcast transition is a slow one because I'm just starting to create it and I don't know where I'm going. But again, I hope that the spirit guides me well.
All right, man. Well, I've really dug your podcast actually. Like I saw that it was up through a Facebook post of yours, and I was like, oh shit, because I remembered you talking about possibly starting up a podcast on our
Ah,
first interview. I was like, he
yeah.
went through and did it. Hell yeah! And so I went and listened to it. There was I don't
Thank
know.
you, brother.
I think there was about like 13 episodes or something like that up at the time, and I just binge listened to all of them.
Oh man,
So
that's very kind of you, man.
it was really cool, man. It was great hearing your insights. And as we were talking a little bit about before we actually started recording this interview, you were talking about dramatic pauses and stuff like that. And those are some things that like are tough for me to do with like a
Mm.
radio background, because there were a couple times where you had a really long pause, and I was like, I had to check and make sure my player didn't cut out just
It was too
because
long. I know.
just because the radio aspect in me is like, dead air is bad air, dead air is bad air. You got to keep
That air
talking,
is
got to
bad
keep
air.
talking. But
Yeah.
but it's not true in all forms. Like on radio, yeah, everything's got to be fast paced, got to be up, got to be like, oh, full of energy and talking like this. And well, I'd never talked like that on the radio unless it was a joke. But but you get my point. On like podcasting and other types of things, you can take your time, have that dramatic pause, build suspense, and all that good stuff. So where did you develop this style? This dramatic pause style. Sorry, I had to throw one
Ah.
in.
You know, man. Okay. So first of all, thank you for listening to it, man, and sharing your perspective on it. It really has been inspired by your journey. So thank you.
Thank you.
And yes, sir. In terms of the podcast, it's a skill that I'm learning and I'm just starting and I'm an amateur in terms of how to like have a podcast, even a podcast where there's no guest on it and it's just me, because it involves a certain intimacy and it involves a certain level of, because I don't, it's raw, so if I just record it, then that's what I record. I don't edit. I don't do anything. And as of now, that might change if I have a longer one. I don't know where this is going. But the dramatic pauses comes from one place of respecting the listener, that because it's raw, I want to make sure what I say is of value because I'm not trying to waste nobody's time. So that's going to require me to just take a quick pause. And that quick pause is much better than that longer pause. Now, you're right. In the beginning, I had longer pauses. So as I'm getting more comfortable doing these podcasts or developing a style, those pauses will find a healthy balance where sometimes there'll be a nice pause, sometimes be no pause. But in terms of it, I think it's a skill, and you develop it through observing the way you speak. Again, from your cadence to your inflections to your energy. And you have to take notes on it. I would, when I was studying voiceover, same thing. I would take notes on, I noticed that, I take really long pauses, and you can't do that in voiceover. It's a 30-second script. I don't have time to pause. But then what you learn to develop is to control what you thought you couldn't change. See, I thought I couldn't change how it long. No. Now I can control it. So for me, the pausing is out of respect to the listener. So I make sure I spit value. But it's also my style because that's my cadence. I like to just kind of reflect and absorb and think. Everyone will have a different one. And dude, sometimes when I'm really into it, I'll get fast and I'll get high energy and I'll get all of it. But you learn to control your knob, right? Everyone has their own knob. You got your own knob. And if you study it with these little observations of inflection and cadence and rhythm and pace, you'll get to what you want and you'll be able to control it.
Yeah, so like I think we're kind of in a way on the same journey, but just starting from opposite sides of the spectrum, because like my
That's a
intros,
great way to put it.
like I started out very radio-y, like, but I didn't want it to necessarily sound like my old radio voice, which was my real old radio voice was more like Eastern Iowa's Real Rock 94.1 KRNA. There's a static dropping rocks on you from the skybox. So that was my radio voice. And then I took like a couple voiceover classes and realized the radio voice, it's not really used in voiceover so much. So it's like I started that journey like trying to conversationalize my voice when it's just me and the microphone. Like when it's me, the microphone, and somebody else, I can do the conversational voice very easily. But it's like when it's just me and the microphone and a recorder, it's like, okay, it's all on me to make this interesting. So my voice has to carry this with speed or volume, excitement, fast pacing, that and that not. And like when I started trying to slow down my intros, to me at first it sounded very boring. All right. It's like I'm not doing enough with my voice. I'm not it's just me talking. Who wants to hear that?
I hear you.
But like I'm starting to kind of get to the point where I can slow it down, accept that pace, and be like, okay, I do hear the value in slowing it down. Talking a little bit like on this episode, I have return guests coming your way. Kabir
sounds
Signh.
Beautiful.
So it's like I'm trying to get to that point where it feels comfortable to me,
Yeah. And you'll find that healthy balance in between that high energy and that low energy. You'll find the uncontained energy, whatever you feel comfortable, whatever you feel good at, and your pace, and it'll develop over time. Mine's still developing, man. I promise you, I'm still developing. I'm still amateur at this game. The voiceover, yeah, I'm reaching a level of certain professional where now I can really hone in and master a specific type of voiceover. But you give me like a promo script or an animation script, I'm back at amateur level. I'm straight amateur. I'm not good at those things. And I'm learning like skills. They just take time. Like there's no way around it. Skills take time. And if you want to be a master at it, you got to be an amateur. You can't reverse it.
I like that. If you want to be a master, you have to be an amateur. So that right there actually, it says a lot. It's very simply said, but it's like, to get to the master part, you got to start at the bottom and work your way up.
That's a great way. And and you're a wise man because you recognize that is more to that line. And why? Well, because it involves the hardest thing that we have to do, which is lower and defeat the ego in order for even to accept that idea that I got to be an amateur to be a master.
Yes, definitely, man. That right there, I think a lot of people can learn from, and it is attitude I think you need as well to be successful in a way. Because if you come on into podcasting, or if I come into voiceover expecting, oh man, I've done this, I've done that, I should be a master at this, even though I've never done it, it's gonna hit you hard when reality sets in. You're like, oh shit, I don't know how to do this, I suck. And then a lot of people end up quitting. But if you go in knowing you got a long road ahead of you, that you got to work your way up, that you got to polish some skills and stuff like that, I think right there, that's a big percentage of at least having a chance to succeed.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Now it gets tricky because this is our mature self speaking, right? So our mature self understands what we're saying. But I can tell you, damn, Kabir many times has had his ego shattered in front of his face. Now, when you shatter that ego, you make a choice. Do I continue being with ego, or do I allow my humbling to learn something from it? I chose that route. I like to learn from the shattering of my ego. Best lessons, whether it's me having been demolished by a 14-year-old kid in jiu-jitsu, trying for my first time because I was terrible and he was a lot better. That was a great feeling. It's a great feeling, man. From that little micro example to something in business, whether it's quoting a certain price and just stepping outside of your league. You think you're somebody. So you came here big nuts, put down big nuts on the table and said, hey, this is my price. I've done that. That's a great shattering of the ego example, because then you realize, you're still learning. You may not be a master, but you're not an amateur. Oh, okay. You're in the professional level, You're like you're still learning. But
yeah,
continue to learn, motherfucker,
Yeah, so I guess you said when your ego got shattered, you said you learn from that, you pick it up, it's a great feeling. But what do you do to sweep those shattered pieces of ego up off the floor and learn from them?
Love yourself. You have to love yourself. You don't love yourself, none of this works. It just doesn't work. I had to learn to love myself. I hated myself as a kid. Why? I was not the same person. I used to be bullied beyond imagination. I had a terrible childhood. All these things were stacked against me. And at that point, you may not want to love yourself. But over the years, I chose the path of not victimizing or sharing that negative side of the story because I allow it to learn from it. By learning from it, I've had my ego shattered most of my life. Now, the only difference between now and then is Kabir loves himself. That's the only difference. The ego shattering never stopped. I dealt with it my whole life. Only difference, Kabir loves himself. Why does Kabir love himself? Well, I put a lot of work into improving myself, to putting up that mirror and seeing that I was a piece of shit to other people at times, or to seeing that, oh, okay, you're fucking egotistical. Oh, okay, well, you also don't know how to communicate. You may need to work on those skills. Oh, shit, you have no confidence. Oh, damn, you don't even know how to lift weights or exercise. The story, it never ends, bro. So you put in the work, you fix it, and you have to love yourself, man. You got to. It's the only way out of it. You gotta love yourself.
Okay. All right. So I guess one more question along that. What made you make the decision to turn the tables and go on instead of going further and further down the spiral? What made you turn that train around and start heading towards the self-love?
It's definitely more gradual. It's a gradual thing for me. It's never like, oh, now I have a shining light, a moment, I'm going to love myself. It's gradual. And in order to get to light, you got to go through the darkest and the shit. You got to get to light. Now, if you get to the light, it'll all be worth it. But just because you're in your light doesn't mean you can't go back to the darkness, right? Now, the love is a gradual thing. Because I still find myself disappointed in myself in many ways. I still find myself many ways being disappointed. So it's a gradual loving process. And why did I do it? Mainly because I saw other people showing me love, you know,
Okay.
whether it was an older man who showed me how to lift weights, or somebody teaching me how to hit a heavy bag, or somebody teaching me about how to have a conversation with a woman, or whether it's seeing when I was younger, when my dad passed away and we had no money, Mr. Steven down the street giving us $300 so that we can fix our van and my sister can go to work. So you observe and you appreciate. And I had to observe and appreciate love from other people to want to love myself. Because if they can love me or love my mom or a stranger to help us out, well, fuck, it's a disservice for me not to love myself and improve.
Wow. All right, man. Definitely. And while you were telling me that story, I was thinking of when things kind of started to turn around for me a little bit as well. It was shortly after high school. I met this one friend of mine. His name is Zach. And Zach was talking, basically tell me you can't care what people think. If they don't like you, to hell with them, screw them. You know, if they're going to judge you for something, you don't need them anyway, type thing. And it was like that along with some other words going on. I don't remember the whole conversation, but basically it helped me develop a personality where it's kind of like, I have no reason to be embarrassed, ashamed, or anything like that. I'm going to go out, be me, and also make it so I didn't feel as self-conscious when I was, say, trying to tell a joke or something. Because when you think of a joke and you think about it before you say it, then that joke loses its timing, loses its funniness, loses everything.
Absolutely.
So it helped me develop the confidence just to go right off the cuff. And if it doesn't land, it doesn't land. Who cares? People will forget about it, So it's like people in your life help you along the way in the journey, whether you realize it at the time or not.
I wouldn't be anywhere close to anywhere I'm at if it wasn't for the love and help of other people. Nowhere near it. I am only here because of the love and help of other people. I put in a lot of work. Don't get me wrong now. I didn't come up rich or nothing. I put in a lot of fucking work. But I only put in the work because of the help of other people. They might have shown me what path to go, what direction to take. all of these things. But man, I mean, look at yourself, man. You spit positive stuff. I listen to your podcast. I've caught in a few episodes. You spit love. That's love. You're not spitting hate out there. You're open to conversation. You're open to thoughts. You're open to disagreements, and you listen. That's love. That's spreading love. And whether it's indirect or direct, doesn't matter. What can we do? That's all we can do. I mean, I don't know. I'm lucky enough to have the ability to create side shit, like a podcast, or let's go try videos, or let's go spit some poetry. And I've worked really hard to get that, but I don't take for granted that can be taken away any moment. So if it can be taken away any moment, I have to make sure that every minute of my life, of what I put out there, is not bullshitting nobody. I'm not looking for followers. I'm looking for just to share my love, man. And if you fuck with it, you fuck with it. And that's all I could do is try to improve myself and treat people better, treat myself better.
Well, thank you, man. That actually means a lot to me, what you said about my show. And that is one of the main things I want to put out there, along with helping spark people and inspire people to go out and do something creative, do something that they want to do, instead of just settling for that 9 to 5, that job you go to that steals a piece of your soul every day. Like, I want them to do something about that. I'm not saying just quit your job right now, because I still have my regular job as well. But do something on the side. Do something to help fill that gap. Do something that makes you feel like you're growing or going towards something that you want.
Look, man, that's a tender line. And you said it right there, fill that gap. And that's right, exactly right. There's a gap. Now, my experiences of gotten older has changed my perspective on that, because I see my life will throw situations at people that are uncontrollable. My sister, she's the reason that I even have the opportunities I have today. My sister Ekta, and when my dad passed away, she sacrificed her whole life for me and my mom, my other sisters. And she went from working at McDonald's to now just Silicon Valley'd up, with barely a college degree. And she could have went to whatever college she wanted to, but life threw her situations. It wasn't even her fault. It was, shit, I'm the one that has to take care of these people. So when you think about those moments, man, and I think about life and I think about all of this, it's like, I can't help but appreciate every moment of it, man. I can't help but find inspiration and all around me, and hopefully share a little bit of that, man.
Definitely. So, what is, like, you got you have the voiceover going, of course, that's your thing. You have your Facebook videos, your podcast. What is, like, next in your of goals, or like what's next for Kabir Signh?
Just going to continue working on those things, because like I said, I'm an amateur at it, man. I really am an amateur, and I'm trying to get better at the podcast. So for the next, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it'll be Kabir sitting there in his little lab working on his podcast. And that'll involve everything from, hey, make sure you post a promo on Instagram and all that other shit, to, hey, man, make sure you're still putting out value. Make sure you're sharing your spirit. Make sure you're putting out something that people can relate to. All these things, having guests on there, having you on there. When these are things that are part of that little big plan. So I need to work on those. Voiceover wise, I'm gonna continue serving my clients, man. I got a business, repeat clients, and my agents and the team that I have to make sure that I participate in the relationship, because that's all we got is the relationship. So once that goes, your business goes, everything goes. Okay. So I cherish that relation. I got to feed that relationship. In terms of poetry, My Race is Human. This is a poem I've been working on for a long, long time. And I had it written for a long time, but for the past 2 years, I've been just working slowly with my main man, Tim Tippett, working on the video, man, and it's almost done. It'll be done in maybe like 2-3 months, and it's just taught me a lot of lessons about sharing my poetry, because I'm going for the quality over quantity. So if that means it took me 2 years to finish a poem, well, that's what it took, man, because I can only do so much with my spirit, because I got to feed it and I got to serve it at the same time. Okay. So, you know what I mean? Like, that's all part of it, brother. I'll be in the lab just working.
Very cool, man. Very cool. So, I think you were talking about My Race is Human on our first interview as well, saying that you've been working on that for a while.
Oh, it's almost done, man.
I'm looking forward to seeing that video come out. And also for the listeners who's hearing Kabir say that he's an amateur at podcasting and all of that stuff, in the how many episodes do you have out right now?
Maybe like 14 or 15.
14 or 15. All right. I listened to probably about 13 of them. And from the first one to the 13th one, there has been a lot of growth in there as well.
Thank you.
Even,
Thank you, man.
as you mentioned, the pacing. Like, there were some in the earlier ones. That's when I was like looking like, because part of it is my phone sometimes loses reception and like stops playing in the middle of it. But
the real man, even the beginning ones, they're not that good, because I wasn't comfortable. I didn't know what I was doing. Now, as I'm developing it, you get on the path, and then when you're on that path, now you got to master the path. So I'm on there barely starting that journey. So thank you for that observation, because it's true. The beginning ones, they're not as polished.
They aren't, but through even 13 episodes, and the episodes are anywhere from like 3 to like 11 minutes or something like that I've listened to. So they're all nice, short, sweet episodes, and you can see that growth rapidly, tell that you're becoming more comfortable in front of the mic as a podcaster. And you know, it was really cool to listen to that brief evolution, and it's, you know,
that's cool, man.
I don't know how long it took me to start showing progress in my interview style, because a radio show I did was a lot different than my podcast, because it was more like, here's a song, here's an interesting quip about the song, and another song coming up type thing for the most part. And occasionally I'd do like a 15-minute interview or something along those lines. But it was a totally different ballgame for me. So you can tell that like I was kind of uncomfortable at the beginning, trying to like, oh, what question do I ask next? How do I make this last for a full podcast episode? So I don't know. I just want to say, I do see the work that you've been putting in. I saw it all unfold kind of in 1 or 2 days as I listened to those, and cool, I'm sure it was a longer period of time posting those up. But everybody should definitely go check out Kabir's voice. It's on iTunes. I listened on Castbox FM. That's what I've been listening on.
That's been a process too, man, to get it, learning about how to put it out there I put on Anchor, and then they distribute it. But I've been learning just a lot of different things, even on the business side, man. With Anchor, like, some people don't like the terms of service, but I'm still on there because I feel comfortable, but I might shift later to Podbean or something. I'm still, like I said, I'm still learning that part of the business. In terms of that growth, I hope that as I develop them, maybe I'll have longer episodes in there, maybe some that involve a guest and they're on there for an hour, they're sharing a little more. But I'm learning that the shorter episodes they can be consumed a little quickly, which is cool. Yeah. And if you deliver them in a certain way, they'll still bring a little bit of value. But then certain topics deserve longer episodes. So I'm going to have to work on that balance too, man.
Yeah, definitely. And all of your episodes do have quite a bit of value loaded into, a lot of deep thinking, a lot of, insight into the way your mind works. So that's really interesting. I always like hearing other people's thoughts. That's kind of why I started up this podcast in a way too, to, hear other thoughts besides the ones that I'm stuck with in my head. But so that being said, like, what advice would you have for somebody who is either looking to get involved in podcasting or voiceover, or just any advice in general towards the entertainment industry?
remain humble. Now I can't you can't fake the humble though. See, then if you try to fake the humble, it's not going to work. But you have to remain humble. And if you don't find that life is making you humble, force yourself to be humbled. What do I mean? Go take a trip down to the slums of India. You don't want to go that far? You can go down to Skid Row, Los Angeles. Go humble yourself. Humble yourself, because this whole life requires you to stay humble. And it's a daily process. I find my ego boosting some days, and I got to bring that shit back down. Now, more practical advice, you got to stay hungry to learning. Everything must be a process of learning from others. I learned a lot from seeing how you post your promos for Uncontained. I learned from that. I learned from how you speak and you interview your guests. I learned from that. I need you as you need me. That's how this works. So we learn from each other. So learn and stay hungry in your learning process. So be humble, stay learning. For voiceover, the tech can be challenging. The studio building, the microphone, but it's not impossible no more because of technology. You can go get a decent mic set up and you can get some good workshops in. You can hit me up on email. Go on my website, kabirsvoice.com. Hit me up. I'll tell you where to go. I'll try to help you out as much as I can. Many people have helped me in voiceover to get to the level I'm at. So whether it's consulting, whether it's coaching, classes via Skype, whatever it is, there is ways that you can learn better, learn more efficient, learn quicker. If you don't have that much time, maybe you don't want to read the book, get an audiobook. It'll go by quicker. There's little things that you can do to just learn better, learn quicker, learn faster, learn more. I stay hungry for learning. So those are little things, man, that I think can be valuable in your journey, whatever it is, life, business, personal journey. I'm on one myself, man. I find myself just lost in my own thoughts and mind about everything from how much money do I want to make, or am I going to have kids? Am I going to get married? Like all these things I have to learn. I'll go get an audiobook about what it means to be married. I'll go get an audiobook, or what does it mean to have kids? I'll go get, whatever it is.
Okay.
I'll go watch videos on how to lose weight because I'm not happy with the weight. You know what I mean? This shit never ends. The grind never ends. You just choose to sign up or not. That's it. Choose to sign up or not, man. If you choose to sign up, participate and do it with your heart and soul, man. And don't be caught up in the expectations. Expectations kill you. They kill me for a good time in voiceover when I first started, expecting, oh man, I'm gonna make this much money. Oh man, no, all that shit was an illusion. Once I tapped into, I don't give a fuck, let me just get better and become a master, all of it went away and more of it came back.
Okay. Awesome, man. Awesome. So I do have one question on that there. Like, of course, being humble is huge. And you say if you feel your ego creeping up, like, yeah, do something about it. Is there a healthy level of ego? You want some ego, right?
Love it. There's always a healthy level of ego, man. Yeah, and that could be the borderline of confidence. I'll give you a micro example. If I'm in a live session with a voiceover director and a producer, here's the knob. Remember, everything is a knob of balance. So I can balance my humility and ego in a great example. If I got a director who's participated in this process many, many times, I'm gonna lower that artistic ego and let him just participate, and I'm gonna be guided by him.
Okay.
Now I'll have another client. They're a startup. The startup, they've never participated in a voiceover session. Now at this point, I can't lower the ego too much, because if I lower the ego too much, I no longer can guide him and be confidently guiding him in the leadership skills I need. So that's something I had to learn, that, yeah, you got to stay humble. But if you want to be a leader, you got to have a certain level of confidence. So there's the healthy humble, and then there's the healthy confidence.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes great sense. So kind of adjust it to the environment that you're in. Like if you're with a novice, you're going to have to boost up, and you're an expert in something, or even like a professional in something,
Yeah.
you're going to have a little bit more ego or say sway over the way direction goes. Because with the example you used, I picked up with, say, a startup that hasn't done anything for voiceover, their idea might be complete crap. And that's for you to be like, okay, really? I appreciate your like input there, but in my experience, this here will go better with this here and you'll get better results.
It's constant adjustment of the humble and ego, because they might be like, no, we still want to do it this way. Well, then at that point, they're paying you. You might want to lower your ego a little bit. So it's like a constant adjustment, man. You got to know when to lead. You got to know when to follow. You got to know when to lead. You got to know when to follow. That's just how this life works. Sometimes you lead. Sometimes you can't always be a fucking leader, and you can't always be a fucking follower.
Gotcha. So one more question about the voiceover part of that example. Now, if it is a startup that insists on doing it one way and you are being hired by them as a voiceover artist, like if you record that subpar product that they want, will that reflect badly on you?
I've been in that journey where it has. Now, how do you prevent that? Well, I've been in the journey where the end product came out not too good, and it's because they didn't let me be me. You know what I mean? They wanted to tweak and not accept anything different. At the same time, when you become a professional, your job is to at least provide them a little take of you at the end. So in voiceover, that's very specific, but there's many controlled things like how long is the session? Do you have enough time? But what I like to do, say I went through the whole script and we did it your way, Mr. Klein. Mr. Klein, got it. I'm tired, but time is running out. Hold on, just before we leave, let me give you a little bit of Kabir, just if you don't mind. Is that okay? Yeah, okay. Then I'll give them a take just as Kabir. Whether they use it, that's uncontrollable, doesn't matter. But you can only do your part.
Yeah. Awesome, man. So let's switch modes just a little bit here. Like, what are you doing currently to promote yourself? I know we touched on this just a little bit, but has that changed since you started
100%.
podcasting?
Yes, 100%. So, man, I talk about the unplugging and, hey, let me just separate myself from this phone and this social media. And I do that. However, now I'm exploring with Instagram because I didn't know Instagram. I just, I'm not the picture guy, and I'm like, oh, fuck, I got to concentrate on the Facebook. And there's already enough shit, right? There's always enough shit.
Yes,
you got enough shit to do, man. So you can't do it all. But I've had to maybe slow down on the Facebook videos just for a couple months. Let's focus on the Instagram. So I started making what I call poetic philosophy, right? So poetic philosophy on my YouTube, Kabir's Voice, whether it's on there, whether it's on my Instagram, what I'm doing is making these videos with music and producing them. And then I put one on YouTube, right? The first one's called The Diamond, okay? But then I'll use a 60-second version for Instagram. Same thing with a podcast. Say I do a 12-minute episode, but then I'll cut a 60-second version for the Instagram because I'm trying to build the Instagram. I need to start that process. I'm non-existent, but that's okay. I'm not uncomfortable being an amateur. I'd rather just stay real and be an amateur and know where I'm at. So I'm working on that. Let me tweak. Let me learn about something. One thing I learned about was Instagram, how you can add a link in the bio, and that's the only link. You can't have links in the caption. Okay, so I'm learning that. Okay, well, change your name so that it's SEO specific opposed to just some shitty or non-existent name. Okay, let me learn that. Oh, okay, let me do a business page instead of a personal page. So Instagram, I'm trying to learn the Instagram game, or how my brand, my voice can be expressed on Instagram, this different platform. Everything's a minute. I can't do fucking 4-minute videos, or I can't do an hour long. You know what I mean? So yeah. Adjusting and learning. It's going to be a slow process, but that's the journey. That's the journey, man. And I've chosen to be on that journey.
Are you using any program on Instagram to post your audio? Or is it just through their video thing?
So I've been doing like these. So for the podcast, like a little template where you can create here's a great example. Tim Ferriss, when he posts his videos on Facebook, he uses like an audio wave.
Yeah.
Well, that's perfect because then you can create that audio wave style and with your branding, make it a minute long. So if you have an hour long podcast, it would just require a little bit more editing and you need to find somebody, or if you do yourself, to turn it into a teaser. Even in voiceover, you're familiar. It's a teaser. Well, they have a teaser for a show or a teaser for a movie. Same thing. You'd create a 60-second teaser and then put that on Instagram and then I'll put $10 to boost it. You know what I mean? $10.
Yeah.
What's $10? It's nothing. It's like I have breakfast for $10. I use it for my Instagram post to boost it so that somebody somewhere might see it and click it. Do they watch it? Do they subscribe? I don't give a fuck, man. I just have to do my part. Put the link, ask them or whatever, and then let it happen, whatever happens. But it's helping me build that stamina, of work.
Okay, awesome, man. Awesome. So, now throughout your time, I know you have a lot of highlights through voiceover because you've been doing that for quite a while. But what would be a highlight or two that you may have experienced recently with the new podcast, or if you want to throw one in from voiceover as well, that is cool too.
I gotta tell you. Okay, so poetic philosophy videos. Well, okay, so the Diamond. There's one called Skills and one called The Bully. The Skills one will be released maybe first week of August. The Bully one will be released first week of September-ish, right? Okay. Now, even in this process of creating with my friend, he creates the music and, I hire a video editor and we just kind of create something here. The specific one called The Bully Man, that one has been a highlight, bro, because even my homie, like, he spent so much time on the music out of love and support because he was connected to what I was saying. And it just hit him that much, right? So the guy who edited the video, same thing. He just felt it so much where they put so much love in it. So now I'm learning as an artist, this shit is not even mine. It's not mine no more because I created it. But, dog, these guys put their love in. So now if both of you put their love in and I put my love in, this is ours.
Yeah.
It's ours. At this point, it's ours because, again, I couldn't make this shit without you guys. So The Bully is one that I'm really just, man, I can't wait for that one, man. It's a really good one. I never say that about my shit because, I'm happy with it and that's why I put it out. But this one just hits a little differently, It hits a little.
Right on. And I have seen the Instagram version of the Diamond, like the shorter video. I haven't had a chance to watch the full Diamond video, but
you get the idea off the 60-second.
Definitely. And it is definitely something that I'm going to check out as well. So I'll have the link to that in my show notes at the end of that you can check out at the end of the show or whatever, or before the show. As you're watching or listening to the show, you can look and then check that video out in a little bit.
I appreciate that, man. And even with that, bro, like I already know there's enough stuff out there for people to consume. So I have no expectations of everybody watching my shit or sharing my shit because there's enough stuff out there, man. I can't burden or ask too much of people. All I can do is focus on my creating. That's all I'm doing. I just care about creating, dog. That's all I want to do. I put the tools out there so people can like it or not like it, but I appreciate the ones that do, man. So thank you.
Yes, no problem, man. Thank you for putting it out. I have thoroughly enjoyed it and talking to you as well. I got a couple more questions for you, though. So I know it sounded kind of like I was wrapping up there, but you're not getting out of here. Not getting out of here that early.
For sure, man. I enjoy talking to you, brother. So thank you.
All right. So now I'm sure you have a pretty decent answer for this one with how much you reflect inside. What is it that you want your audience to take away, feel / remember about listening to you perform, whether it's your podcast or if it's voiceover or something along those lines?
That I really am trying my best to put something that is of value, of truth, and I really don't have any expectations. And I don't take any of this for granted. Like any person that likes it or any person that comments, I do my best to message them back. And because, man, they don't have to and they don't need to, but they do, even if it's one person or two people. And I promise to always do that. I promise to share my spirit as much as I can hopefully in a positive way. Now, with all that said, I'm no different than anybody. I still make mistakes. That's where my lessons come from, because all the mistakes I fucking made in my life, all the shit I've done wrong. So I'm learning, and I'm learning. And we all are on our own journey, man. And I just, as a brother or as a sister to whoever's watching, whatever means you can get to where you want to go, appreciate that journey.
Definitely. That's very insightful. And I do only have one question left for you. But before we get there, speaking of branding and stuff like that, where can people find you online? What's your corner of the internet?
You can find me on Facebook under Kabir's Voice. Got my own business page. You can find me at kabirsvoice.com. For the podcast, nowadays, Spotify, Google, Google Play, those types, iTunes. Instagram, I'm working on it. Twitter, I'm not on there yet, man. I'm not on that level of tweeting yet. So just mainly IG, Facebook, and YouTube eventually. I'm building it, but those are a couple. Kabir's Voice. Everything's at Kabir's Voice.
All right, sweet. So just remember, at Kabir's Voice, and you shall find him. All right, Kabir, I do have that one final question for you. It is the title question of the show. Kabir Signh, how do you live uncontained?
I remember this one. I love that you do this, man. And I feel like as I get older in life, different stages, there'll be a different answer to how to live uncontained, right? Because that definition changes as your life experiences changes, as the different stages change. And for me, it circles back to the answer. You must be adaptable. You must be adaptable. I must be able to adapt to any situation life throws at me. It may throw me a bad one, a good one, a really unexpected one. I must stay adaptable. And that's how I stay uncontained.
All right, man. Perfect, man. Perfect. Short and sweet. And I'd love to thank you one more time for joining me on the show today. It's great talking to you.
Thank you.
If you're listening out there, make sure you check out his podcast at Kabir's Voice, and also all of his social media at Kabir's Voice as well. And I am truly looking forward to when the My Race is Human comes out. I want to check that out. That's been long in the works, and I'm looking forward to it. So I have one final thing for you to do, Kabir, before I let you out of here. And that is sign off the show. Will you do me the honor of signing off the show tonight?
Absolutely, man. And whatever that means to you, whether it's adaptability, whether that's turn your ego down or show more love to people, whatever it is, man, be as free as you can. As free as you can in your life situation, in your experience, in your path. Get to as much freedom as you can. Freedom of expression, freedom of thought, freedom of voice, freedom of everything, whatever path you're on. And that's how we can all live on a certain level of being uncontained. I am Kabir Signh, and I live uncontained.
And that does it for another episode of Uncontained. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you again to Kabir Signh for joining me for a second time. First on episode 83, if you haven't listened to that one, check it out. And now on this one, episode 128. So definitely check out some of the stuff he has coming up. The new podcast he has out, definitely subscribe to that. That's Kabir's Voice. And also, I'm looking forward to checking out his new video for the poem My Race is Human. So that's all coming up. I'll have links to everything that he has out in the show notes, and I will keep you updated when that poem comes out with that video so you can check it out as well. So thank you for listening, and as always, live uncontained.